Welcome back, Liverpool fans and football fanatics. Today we're going to talk about Liverpool's upcoming match versus Chelsea this weekend, breaking it down, giving some personal perspective and opinions, and then hopefully you can leave your comments in the comment section below. Remember to like, subscribe, and share. I'll get back to you after this short message. Welcome back. If you've never been on my channel before, I'm a Liverpool fan dating back to the early 80s when John Barnes was a star player for the squad. And obviously, I've been a long term fan since then through the ups and the downs, the good and the bad. But I'm also a football fan, and I'm happy to see the United States get a proper manager in place. I'm happy to see Chelsea building back up after, of course, a dynasty which has obviously crumbled over the last few years. So going into this game, I don't have resentment or hate towards the opponent. Obviously, I think Chelsea's a good team, young, a lot of good talent. Obviously, a lot of players Liverpool had previously been chasing after and were unable to get because we just couldn't pay the money or didn't want to pay the money that Chelsea was able to do. Chelsea obviously has always had the bag, and historically that was a reason for people to sort of be against them because any team that's buying victory is going to obviously get a lot of negativity thrown towards them. We see that currently with Man City. But when I look forward to this game, I think right now, obviously, this is a great culmination of this season between two teams that have really looked good. For some reason, Liverpool coming into this season had a lot of detractors, even though we did finish third last year and by a wide margin. And we're right in the running for obviously several, titles and obviously the Premier League title as well, leading into the last month of the season, I think it was. Of course, Salah coming back after the African Nations Cup, some injuries here and there, and just mental or emotional meltdown, knowing that Klopp was obviously leaving at the end of the year, ended up having Liverpool end the season not very well, and led us to only one title during last year's run. Chelsea, on the other hand, after getting new ownership, spending huge money, seemed to be a real shambles. Had tons of great talent, but the problem is there was no chemistry, no cohesion. And so as a Chelsea fan, you could be, of course, super excited with all the great young players you signed, but you got to wonder how exactly these players are going to be sort of maneuvered and meshed together to make a really good squad. And last year we didn't see that. But to start this year, Liverpool is doing exactly what I figured they would do, picking up from where they left last year. Slot has been a great replacement, almost walked straight into Klopp's footprints and led Liverpool in a very similar fashion. Obviously, Chelsea, they have their new manager. How do I say his name? I will get to it in a minute. I think it's listed later on in my PPT. But obviously, he's a guy that was coming under a lot of pressure. They've been signing a lot of managers. Nobody really seemed to fit. He came in with a real strict, these are the players I'm going to work with. The rest of you can kick rocks, move to other teams, just get out because you have no chance. Obviously, Sterling was one of those players. And there's a lot of resentment, people wondering exactly what was going on. But with the size of that squad, you needed somebody with a vision, somebody that knew who they wanted to work with and could imagine how they were going to work together to be a better squad. And so far, so good. They've looked good. They've scoring, which is obviously one of the high points for both Liverpool and Chelsea. Very, very explosive offenses. And of course, we'll get to that more moving forward. Me as a Liverpool fan, I always appreciate great teams, great squads. So I'm happy to see Chelsea do so well. Obviously, I'm also in football pools. So, at that point, you end up taking a lot of players from other teams, which kind of, I understand older people. I mean, I'm older, but older people who never played in fantasy pools, they kind of have a point when you talk about the killer instinct and the real strong connection to your squad when you start playing these fantasy pools, because now you start cheering for teams that aren't your team and players that aren't on your team, right? And you can see here two of my star players, Manduki and Palmer, are obviously there for Liverpool. Obviously, I have Alexander and Diaz and Allison, but he's currently hurt on the bench. Um, so, I have my fair share of Liverpool representation, but also a lot of Chelsea. And I think great players. And I've been very pleased with how they've been playing this year. But now, of course, we're running into each other head to head. And so now it's about my team winning and your team losing if you're a Chelsea fan. So let's get to this. Obviously, it's a big matchup. I would say it's probably the most important game of the season. Obviously, it's early into the season, but this really kind of sets a tone, right? If we go in there and really show the dominance and cohesion under Slot that maybe we didn't have to end the season last year and continue our great defensive sort of sets or just structure, that's going to be a real big. Hello? Hi. Oh, let me throw some pants on. Calm down, Lily. Calm down, Lily. Huh? Of course. Who else? Hi. You know you guys have this scooter. Those shorts are good. See through. Scooter, get some air. Give the boys. That's the unique that I want. Yeah. Keep Liver. He's so excited to meet him. You see me every day. He's excited to meet him. Very excited. Yeah. I got guests. Visitors. Podcast. Liverpool and Chelsea. I would never. Hey. Oh, really? See the new thing Jerry has came up with? It looks like some environmental and back to the nature stuff. So, hey guys, how was going to send you guys a message? You want a piece of liver? Of course you do, you greedy bitch. Go. Say thank you, auntie, uncle. Oh, it's yummy, right? Welcome back. Sorry for the interruption. Friends just dropped over to drop doggy treats for my pup. So let's get back to this. Where was I? What was I talking about? Oh, yes, Liverpool versus Chelsea, upcoming match this weekend. I'm excited. It's going to be great. And obviously, as a huge fan, this is exactly what we want. We want big games, matchups to prove how good we are, right? And obviously, I'm sure Chelsea fans feel the exact same. And I'm sure they're very confident based on how well they've been performing this year. So let's move to this. So obviously, we were talking about the new managers. Both teams have new managers, and it's kind of went seamlessly for both. Obviously, Slot and the Chelsea manager. Sorry, I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but both of them have really surprised football fans around England and the world with how well their teams have performed. And obviously, for Slot, he was walking in and taking over for a Liverpool legend in Klopp. So big shoes to fill. Luckily for Chelsea's manager, he was coming in off of less than a stellar performance last year. So expectations weren't really that high. They just needed to look better, more cohesive, and obviously do higher in the rankings standings than they did last year. And so far, so good. So this game particularly, obviously, Allison is injured, which is a big problem for Liverpool. Obviously, he is, I think, probably the best keeper in world football and has really been the linchpin to our team's defense. But the great thing about Kelleher, he's got a lot of time. Last year, he played a lot. Obviously, Allison was injured last year a little bit as well. He played all the smaller tournaments and got a lot of experience. He's a guy super confident and young and on the precipice of being a starter somewhere around the world in his own right. So this is a great opportunity for him to really lay the groundwork to that and really show how good he is. As a Liverpool fan, I got lots of confidence in him. I know he's going to do well, but obviously he's no Allison. He's running in with Robert Sanchez, who's also a very good keeper. So I think this matchup, truthfully, on paper, is pretty even, right? Sanchez is good, but I don't know where you'd rank him on the world level, right? Chelsea's obviously had quite a bit of problems trying to find that keeper that was going to sort of lead their team forward. And Sanchez is obviously the new version, right? When Liverpool signed Allison, obviously Chelsea spent even more money to sign their young keeper, who is now, I'm not even sure what team he's representing, but he's no longer with Chelsea. So, that was another example of how Liverpool really does well in the transfer market, spends money, but actually gets real quality out of their money. Allison has went on to become a superstar for Liverpool and maybe the best keeper in Liverpool history. Whereas the guy that Chelsea ended up signing, spending more money than Liverpool spent on Allison, didn't even last very long, was never really a stalwart, continued to have issues with managers, and just never really fulfilled his promise. Then we get to the two stars to keep an eye on this weekend. Obviously, Mohamed Salah, who is a Liverpool legend, right? Started the year very well. He's doing good, obviously, with a new scheme. He's being used a little differently than he was under Klopp, but has done very well. He's especially good now at this point of his career, setting up his teammates and moving the ball, not specifically only focusing on goal scoring, but just bringing his team together. And he's really got very solid in that aspect of his game, getting double-digit assists consistently. And this year is no different. Started very well as well. There really looked like there was going to be a great chemistry between him and Nunez, who really worked well off of each other. But obviously, Nunez has been very up and down in his career so far. Then, of course, you got Cole Palmer, who we all knew, ironically enough, for Man City, a guy like Foden, who we knew were great players, but we were wondering why they weren't getting the opportunity, the chance to play that we felt they deserved. And obviously, you can't really hate on Pep, because when you're winning, you must be doing something right. Obviously, the way he brought Foden along worked out well. Foden became a star player for England and obviously a star player for Man City. Palmer, we figured, was being brought along in a similar fashion. But we see that, like Fergie, that Pep is kind of similar. If you're not really happy with your role, he's very quick to get rid of you, like he just did with their striker recently, the Uruguayan striker, obviously, or Argentinian striker, who they just got rid of, who's very young. And I thought you shouldn't get rid of him at this point, because probably he's going to be the replacement for Haaland in probably the next year or two. Palmer has jumped into Chelsea and been fucking unbelievable. Unbelievable. He's been great. And that's why people were really upset during this year's European Championship or European Cup, or you know what I mean, where obviously England wasn't playing him as much as English fans thought he should have been playing. He was a great player, played great last year, and obviously creates a lot. Very confident. And because of that confidence, he's always aggressive, pushing forward, creating something. And he's done a great job in Chelsea. I can't wait to see this head-to-head matchup. Obviously, two of the best scorers in England going head-to-head. It should be fantastic. Then we get to the other, forwards on these teams. Obviously, Liverpool's always been recognized as having a real deep front line. When you think about Salah, and then you have Diaz, Jota, Gakpo, and Nunez, right? 5 elite level forwards, right? And the question was always, who are you going to play? What position are they going to play? You got a lot of talent, but how are you going to have it work together to really get the best out of it? Obviously, Jota has been one of the most consistent scorers. Diaz had a bit of an off year last year. Gakpo has not really been consistent. Nunez has shown moments of brilliance, but yet is also inconsistent. But meanwhile, for me, I like him because even when he's being inconsistent, he's still creating havoc and still opening things up for his teammates. And as I said earlier, really connecting well with Salah, going both ways between the two of them. So I do think Nunez should start. I think Jota would be better coming off the bench. Injury history is really a concern with him. So I think when you use him during moments to change the momentum and bring his really versatile skill set to the field, I think it's better to use him in that position. Nunez up front with Diaz really creating havoc defensively, a lot of speed, pushing against the defense. And then you have Gakpo and Jota coming off the bench. I think that is pretty much the perfect scenario. But of course, I'm not the manager. I'm just a fan. But then we look at Chelsea, and Chelsea has even more of these problems. And they only added additionally to that problem this year by signing Pedro Neto. Pedro Neto, who I was hoping Liverpool was going to sign as a backup for Salah. Obviously, it looks as if Salah might leave at the end of this year. And if you had a Pedro Neto to fill in that role, basically you wouldn't be losing that much, right? And then you have Christopher Nkunku, who played great, you know, really shows a lot of upside. Nicholas Jackson, who has shown moments, but people have been critical of him if he's really a star striker, kind of the same similarity that Nunez has gotten as well. Inconsistent, right? Both of them are good players, very athletic, show a lot of talent, but inconsistent in front of the net. Then, of course, you have the Finnish player Mudryk, who's got speed, but has never really seemed to get it, right? He kind of looks like Salah when Salah used to be for Chelsea, when Salah used his speed, but was never able to really get it. Not until he went to Italy, played regular moments, and then things sort of clicked. And then he came back for Liverpool and became a star. Maybe for Mudryk, it's a similar situation. And then, of course, you have Menduki, a future England great. So I'm always happy to see English players do well because I'm an English fan, and I obviously want to see these players develop and represent for England and lead England to, uh, European titles, World Cups. So I'm happy to see him doing well along with Palmer. And then, of course, you have Jadon Sancho. Sancho, who Man U signed for like $80 million from Germany. There was huge hype with him coming into Man U. And like many of these young athletes, not primarily English or American or anybody, it's just this entitlement that they have where they think they deserve something. And then they no longer have the inner drive, and they don't work as hard as they should to really be at their best. That was Sancho. I hope Sancho does well for the same reason I said that I hope Manduki does well. He's an English player I'd love to see represent England and show the promise that he showed early on in his career. But I question his mentality and if he's a potential cancer for Chelsea moving forward. Because when you have this many forwards and only two positions or three positions to fill, that means three players are always going to be sort of disappointed with their roles. And I think a guy like Sancho, that could really be a problem moving forward. But let me know in the comment section below, what do you think? If you could pick your starters for Liverpool, who would they be? And for Chelsea, who would you want up front as well? I would kind of say I want Neto, Jackson, and Manduki, because I think Neto, his creation and passing would really benefit both Manduki and Jackson. And obviously, Manduki really opens the field because of his speed, which also benefits Jackson. Then you have Nkunku come on as a backup, Sancho, who could be a backup as well. And then, of course, you have Mudryk, who at this point, I'm not sure how much he's really going to contribute for Chelsea moving forward. But let me know what you think about him. Then we get to our midfield. Obviously, Palmer is a midfielder for Chelsea, and Sloboslai is a very good midfielder, obviously, for Liverpool. And I think both of these teams are in a similar position, right? When you think about Sloboslai, McAllister, Gravenberch, Enzo Fernandez, and Moses Caicedo. These players all signed with these teams with big expectations, right? And were expected to really dominate the first day on the field. But you're playing for two of the best teams in the global football, and you're playing against high quality teams as well. So it's going to be difficult when you don't have the chemistry, the history of playing with one another. So you don't really know how best to sort of form together. And that's why many of us in Liverpool wanted to see McAllister and Caicedo work together, because we knew they had already worked at Brighton together. We knew instantaneously there'd be a great connection between the two of them, and you'd just be able to throw them right in the midfield and it would work. Then you just needed a third player that was able to sort of add what these guys were missing, which was probably, like Sloboslai, a little bit more of an offensive flair. For Liverpool, obviously, Gravenberch didn't really fit into plans last year under Klopp. McAllister and Sloboslai both were very good during moments during the season. Obviously, Sloboslai sort of slowed down by the end of the year. started very quick. McAllister kind of got better as the year progressed. Um, but as I said, moving into this year, the biggest benefit these players are going to have is another year under their belt, right? Gravenberg, McAllister, and Sloboslai now are far more familiar with each other, understand how to play together and how to support one another. Communication is going to be better, and that's obviously going to really benefit Liverpool's midfield, and it has. And we saw Gravenberg has went to a whole nother level, which is not that big of a surprise because he was a guy coming out of Holland that people had great expectations for, right? That's why obviously Bayern Munich signed him. And when he was unable to really fit into their system, they were quick to dismiss him, and Liverpool jumped at the opportunity to grab him. And I'm happy about it because I think he is the perfect midfield for Liverpool with his length, his turn, his push, the passing that he brings to the game. I think he's a very good complementary player for both McAllister and Sloboslai. And yet, we still may sign another midfielder this winter. We will see what happens moving forward. I saw there's quite a bit of rumors about potentially getting Barella, the great Inter player. I mean, Jesus Christ, if Liverpool signs Barella, woo, I'm going to be a happy fucking camper, let me tell you that. Barella is a great player. And we know the Italians understand defensive schemes and how to play together as a unit. For Chelsea, obviously you got Palmer, who's much more of a further up player like Sloboslai. And then, of course, you have Enzo Fernandez and Moses Caicedo. The problem with them is similar, finding chemistry between them. Who's going to play this way? Who's going to be doing this, right? Obviously, another year under their belt is obviously going to be very beneficial as well. So you can see there's a lot of similarities between Liverpool and Chelsea, the squads, the breakdown, a lot of similarities, which is what makes this game so intriguing moving forward. Then, of course, we get to the defense. And I think this is definitely the area where Liverpool is dominating, right? With the experienced defenders, Andrew Robertson, Trent Arnold, Van Dijk, and even Kanate, right? Who is young, but I mean, still quite experienced compared to, the two backs, Colwell and Fonfara for Chelsea. You have, of course, Gusto, who's a young player as well. So as far as youth, Chelsea definitely has that. Fonfara, Corwell, and Gusto, 2 years from now, potentially could be one of the best back fours in English football. But at this point, they're all three of them are young. So you would expect a higher level of mistakes, mental mistakes, turnovers, and just maybe succumbing under the pressure. Something you wouldn't expect Robertson, Trent, or Van Dijk to fall under, especially Van Dijk, who most people feel right now is the best player in his position in the world. Then you have, of course, Marco Cucurella, a more experienced player, obviously did very well for Spain this year, leading Spain to a European championship. But then prior to that, he looked like he didn't fit in to Chelsea, right? And was riding the bench consistently, not being able to find a role. Obviously, under the new manager, he's retaken his position. And we know they obviously have Chilwell and James, two great players, right? Both English internationals who I would love to see dominate like they once did, because you throw them on English team, and now I think England is even better creatively, right? Obviously, James' speed, creativity, defensive acumen, and then Chilwell getting a pass, linking up and play. Fucking beautiful player. But injuries have been their biggest issue. So you have that experience, but you can't depend on it. So then you have to rely on youth. And I think this is probably the area that's going to really hurt Chelsea moving forward. Just their lack of experience in the back, including their keeper. And this is obviously an area where Liverpool really needs to be strong on the back and continue to do what they've done this season, right? And that's just going to open up the flexibility and freedom for the midfield, and obviously allow the offensive players, the forwards, to really do what they do, which is just attack, create, and score. My prediction is 4-1 Liverpool. Uh, don't hate me for it. It's just I think it's going to be a very up and down, fast paced game. I do think Chelsea will score, but I think Liverpool, playing at home, is going to get out early. I wouldn't be surprised if it was two, and then Chelsea scored to make it 2-1. At that point, obviously Liverpool scores a third, the brace to go up 3-1, and then gets a late fourth goal just to finish it out. And that's kind of the way I anticipated going down. I kind of in my mind thought that I probably see Salah getting two goals, probably one of which will be a penalty. I think that Diaz probably will get the other one. He'll probably score the first one, probably. And then I thought, I think I could easily see Gravenberg get a big goal in this game, hooking up with Trent, which would potentially be that fourth goal, just to lay the game to rest. But let me know what you think. Who do you have winning this match and why? Are you a Liverpool fan or are you a Chelsea fan, or what team do you support? And how do you think these two teams are going to fare this year in the Premier? Do you think these teams are going to be fighting for the top four or potentially falling out of the top four? Let me know in the comment section below. What do you think? Thanks for watching. I appreciate it. And remember to like, subscribe, and share. It really helps my channel out. Obviously, I have a boxing channel. If you like boxing, you can go check that out. Sean on Boxing. I have a lot more subs and videos and a lot more on that channel than I do for my football channel. I obviously don't put as much time into football as I do for boxing, but it doesn't mean I'm not as much of a fan. It's just I don't have as much subs, so I'm not as motivated to put out content. But if you subscribe, the more subscribers, the more interest, obviously the more emphasis I will put on this channel moving forward. So thanks for watching, and I will see you next time. Enjoy. Peace out.